Happy Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a holiday that if you're a transplant, you may feel like this is a new holiday, but for people who were born and raised in Texas, we've always had Juneteenth. Juneteenth is something we learned about in school, and we all liked it because we only have really two big holidays on the Texas calendar. The Texas Independence Day, March 2nd. Thank you very much. The other one we have is Juneteenth. Now, a lot of people take Juneteenth in a way that it wasn't intended, but I think I can rephrase it for you because this is a Texas holiday. This is the day that word reached Texas in Galveston, a boat landed, and it announced that the black slaves were now free. Let me rephrase it like this. This is the day that word reached Texas that the black slaves had been freed from the Democrats by the Republicans. Oh, well, when you put it like that, that's an interesting perspective, James. Because that's how I like to, I divide Civil War taxonomy into Republican and Democrat. And I find that's very useful. A lot of people get defensive about the Civil War because you get lumped in with the South just because we're from the South. But you don't support the party. You don't support the principles and the heritage and the mindset of the people that were fighting for the South. If you're a conservative, dare I say Republican, your ideology was represented by the Union. And this Civil War that we talk about is often the North beat the South, but really it was the Republicans beat the Democrats. The Republicans and the Democrats went to war. One side was so dedicated to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, regardless of your race, that they were willing to take up a weapon of war, go out and stand in the field and die for it. The Democrats were so dedicated to subjugating your black neighbors that they took up a weapon of war, went and stood in the field and died for it too. Real ugly stuff, Democrats. This is a great history your party has. And I mean that totally sarcastically, because for all of us, Juneteenth should be recognized, should be notable, because it's the fulfillment of the promises that were made in the Declaration of Independence. You know, the spirit of 1776, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But really, it also marked the complete victory of the animating principles of the Republican Party. Remember, the Republican Party just came out in the 1850s because the Whigs were not anti-slavery enough. The Whigs were not willing to go grab a gun and stand up. They were against slavery. They wanted the Democrats to stop. They asked them nicely. They did the Compromise of 1850. They did the Missouri Compromise. That wasn't enough. The Republicans were willing to put it all on the line to free our black American neighbors. And that's why the Republican Party was started. And Juneteenth marks the end of that mission. Total victory in that mission. This day marks the day that the founding purpose of the Republican Party was realized. And the worst nightmare of the Democrat Party. They were so scared of the slaves being free that they went and died by the tens of thousands and the hundreds of thousands. But the Republicans were so dedicated to freedom and liberty that they did the same. So I find it odd to see Democrats celebrating Juneteenth. What are you celebrating? You're still a Democrat. You're still part of the organization that was defeated, that your racist and bloody support of slavery was finally overcome on this day. You really want to celebrate that? Democrats, you want to celebrate how you were so dedicated to the subjugation and oppression of black America that you went and killed your neighbors? You went and killed fellow Americans in order to maintain what? Your white supremacy? That's pretty ugly stuff. That needs to be remembered. Look, also, I worry as a host, as your host, I worry about disappointing you and other listeners when I say I'm not a Republican, just because I don't think the Republican Party does a good job supporting the idea of limited government. The reason I worry about that is because the last thing you need in the media is another lefty spewing some trash propaganda, but that's not where I'm coming from. I have never and will never call myself a Democrat, and Juneteenth is the best reminder of why. Because this is just one in a long line of my problems with the Democrat Party and really their history. I mean, you could say, well, yeah, that's what the Democrats did, but there was a big switch. No, there wasn't. And even if there was a big switch, is there a situation where there could be a big switch like, oh, the KKK, they used to be bad, but there was a big switch, and so now they support the rights of all these other things that I agree with, so I'm going to go put on a hood? You wouldn't do that. So why do you do it for the Democrat Party? Because it's not just slavery. Every human atrocity in American history has been an explicitly Democrat policy. Not just slavery, but Jim Crow, segregation, having to use a different bathroom or go to a different school or ride in a different train car. And it's not just the subjugation of blacks. It's the Trail of Tears. You guys were horrible to the Indians. It was Japanese internment camps. Y'all, they just can't stop being racist throughout American history. The Democrat record is that of racial atrocities, white supremacy. The KKK was a paramilitary arm of the Democrat Party. It was the Democrats that were putting Klansmen on the Supreme Court. And that it's not just in their past. They talk about, well, there's a big switch. Well, what are they doing now? Whenever you see a riot, whenever you see a building burning after a riot, whenever you see someone threw a brick through a window of a store and it got looted, Democrats. If it's Antifa, people going out throwing bricks and intimidating people and burning stuff and spray painting monuments and tearing statues down and destroying property, Democrats. The eco-terrorist shooters, in El Paso and Buffalo, they're like, they were racist. They were far right, probably inspired by Donald Trump. No, they're concerned about global warming so much. They don't like the minorities because they reproduce too fast. They are eco-terrorists. They are far lefties. The trans shooters that shoot up the Christian churches or Joel Osteen's church. And what's their big monumental gift to the culture now? Sterilizing children, child genital mutilation. The Juneteenth is a great reminder that in order to defeat these people, sometimes you're going to have to do a little bit more than fire off a couple angry Facebook posts.